Hi everyone, thanks so much for watching today's presentation of the Classroom Learning Series with Green and Healthy Schools, Wisconsin. I'd like to take a moment to thank Skyward for sponsoring this series.
Since our humble beginnings as a small family business, Skyward has evolved into a global technology leader serving more than 2,000 school districts. At Skyward, we are proud to support the initiatives of the Green and Healthy Schools Classroom Learning Series.
Our presenter today is Susan Schuler from Recycling Connections, and she'll be presenting on a topic that helps us understand what happens to our trash once it leaves our homes or our schools or our businesses. Thanks, Susan, for being here and sharing your presentation with us.
Well, welcome. My name is Susan Schuler, and I'm really excited to take you on a journey today on your trash trail. Today's presentation, we're going to be talking about how we manage our waste and recycling here in the United States. I'm hoping you walk away with some great tips and ideas and things you can do to help reduce your waste or recycle more. To get started, we really need to talk about the assessment of the current situation of our waste in the United States. So here in the United States, we have a problem with waste because we're throwing away 4.4 pounds per day per person in the United States. That is a lot of waste to manage. We are a throwaway society. And what that means is we consume a lot more than per capita than a lot of the other countries. Another statistic that's commonly shared is the fact that those living in the United States, we make up 5% of the world population. Yet we are consuming 25 to 30% of the world's resources. So if that continues on, we have a lot of resources that are being disposed of. We have a lot of resources that we utilize here for our lifestyle, and it's not sustainable. If everybody in the world, 7.5 plus billion people live the way we would, then we would need 4.1 Earths. There is not 4.1 Earths here. We only have one Earth. And so we need to figure out how we manage our resources, how we consume less, how we divert more materials, how we produce it into new products, be more efficient with our use of these resources. So to start the conversation, we really need to say, where is a way? When you throw your trash out, where is it going? Is some magic fairy just taking it away and it just disappears into this place called away? Well, not really. We have a garbage truck or a recycling truck comes to your curbside. They pick up your resources, your waste materials, and it may be deposited into the landfill. It may be burned for energy, although that's not as common practice in communities, but that is an emerging technology. They can be made into new products. That's recycling materials, reuse, maybe some upcycling of materials, even decomposition. So it might not decompose in the landfill. This is more your compostable items. More and more communities are now collecting organic waste for decomposition to make into soil amendment and reuse it that way. Here in Wisconsin, we follow the waste management hierarchy. So we look at the source reduction and reuse as our first and foremost way to start managing our materials. Then we look for opportunities for recycling and composting. Then potential for energy recovery to use that. And then lastly, if material has no potential way of diverting it out of the waste stream, it gets deposited in a sanitary landfill. We follow this as a solid waste community in trying to manage our resources as efficient as possible. Now today, I'm hoping we tackle 4 misconceptions by the end of the presentation. First of all, garbage is not just thrown into a hole and buried. Materials that are going into the landfill are managed for protection of land, water, and the safety of human health, really, so these materials don't end up in our water streams where we are drinking water or things like that. Number two, everything can be just disposed of in the landfill. That is not true. We have items that are banned from the landfill, and then all of us as consumers also need to know about those materials so they don't end up in the landfill. So we all have a responsibility to keep those items out of the landfill, follow the rules and regulations that we have. Recyclables don't get recycled in my town. This is a misconception. A lot of people are saying, why does recycling even matter? It doesn't get recycled. I'm here to prove to you that yes, we indeed do still recycle. Many materials are getting recycled, and you can help with increasing that rate as well. And last but not least, your individual actions absolutely matter. Waste streams do make a difference for how it's coming in. You as a resident, what you put in your dumpster at your apartment building or in your trash can at your residence, those materials are going somewhere. The condition of those materials, if they're recyclables, really matters, and we need everybody to help. All right, a brief history before we go on about waste management. You know, a lot of people think that we still put things into a dump, just a big hole in the ground and we cover it. That is a misconception, but that was how we handled waste at the beginning. We would dump materials into the ground that weren't lined with any liners. It would seep into the soil, the groundwater, and then it would affect our human health. We burned it as well as common practice in the past. So air pollution became a major problem. We recognize this. 1937, the first sanitary landfill was developed in Fresno, California, leading to this new innovation and technology for how we manage waste. 1976 comes along and we have a national law that was passed, the Resource Conservation Recovery Act. That gave way to really managing our materials, our waste materials more responsibly, and trying to recover any materials that had an opportunity for reuse, remaking, and recycling. In Wisconsin, we've gone further than a lot of states. We're on our 30-year anniversary of Wisconsin passing the recycling law. We have items that cannot go into the landfill because of the recycling law. They're required to be recycled. And then furthermore, in 2010, which we're on the 10-year anniversary of, is Wisconsin's e-waste recycling law. So again, banning e-waste materials, electronic waste materials from going into the landfill, making sure those are reclaimed, they're processed safely and recycled when possible. So that's very important to for us to celebrate here. So I have some clips here that I'm going to show throughout the presentation. These are from Into the Outdoors. It's an online videos that you can download. We're just going to show clips of them, but this is a resource. I'll give you the full link at the end if you wanted to go share those in your classroom, share those with your other friends in the classroom with. This short video kind of will give us an overview of how landfills are constructed now.
20 or 30 years ago, it was a dump. We threw things in a hole that was not lined, and we burned it oftentimes and buried it. That was it.
So they were unlined facilities. Things like stormwater or any liquids in the waste migrated through the waste. They pick up contaminants and they contaminate groundwater. They also, as waste decomposes, it generates gas, and those facilities were not capped. Gas would emit into the atmosphere, affecting air quality. Landfills generate a lot of methane, and that is a greenhouse gas, so it affects climate change and global warming. Today, though, landfills are a lot different. They're highly engineered systems.
And it's engineered to protect the environment, especially both groundwater and the air. So we're trying to control any, we call it leachate, we're trying to control any liquids that may try to get out of the landfill. We're trying to control any gases. So if you cut through that landfill, you look from the bottom up, you have your groundwater underneath, your virgin soils, and then we start the engineered part. So we'll often put an under drain in there to prevent any liquids from trying to come up and damage the landfill. And then we have 4 feet of compacted clay. And that's very specific clay to make sure that no liquids can get through there. That's just one part of that containment. Above that, then we have a welded plastic membrane. So every single seam of that is fusion welded. Every single joint of that weld is pressure tested to make sure it doesn't leak. Then we do a rub sheet that kind of protects that geomembrane. We push a drainage stone over top of that, so that allows liquids, once they come down through the liquids, they start coming down, they hit that stone, they're able to drain out to pipes, and we can pump it out of this facility to a treatment facility. Then we have the drainage stone, then we start to put the waste in. As you get to the very top, you're at your final grades. We basically take that and flip it upside down. Everything we did in the liner, virtually, we do on the top now. We have protective soils, we have a thick layer of clay, we have another layer of plastic that's all welded together again. We have a barrier layer to protect that plastic, and then we plant grasses on top of it. Keep in mind, many of these landfills are 50, 100, 200 acre sites, and you have to have that liner and that cap across that whole area. And that's all welded or seamed together at the edges, so we like to joke it's like a big Ziploc bag. We're keeping gases from coming out the top, we're keeping liquids from being able to get out the bottom. 20.
Another look at what that landfill technology and management of the engineering of that landfill looks like. Here is another cross section of that. You can see on the liner system has almost 3.5 feet of liner material before any waste is deposited in that. There is a piping system to allow that liquid to come through, pump out, and be treated. On the top, the final cover is another 3.5 feet typically, where we can now plant grasses. We can now make these kind of recreational land use after they've been capped safely. So now today's engineering of landfills is a lot different than it was in the past. So now let's get back to your trash and your recycling from the curbside or from the dumpster. Once your materials are put there, where does it go? When you put materials into your curbside bin, recycling, or trash, where does it go? Let's follow that trail now. So your materials go to one of two places, either a material recovery facility, otherwise known as a MRF, or it could go directly to a landfill. Now it's possible it's going to a transfer station that then transfers the materials to either the MRF or the landfill, but for the most part, this is going to directly to one of these two endpoints, let's say. So in a landfill, those things will get deposited. You've already seen how it's already managed once it hits that site into a sanitary landfill and properly managed. When it goes to material recovery facility for your recyclables, those are put onto a conveyor belt, and the materials you sent in are sorted for new markets. Some of the new markets that we have here in Wisconsin, so for your paper and your cardboard products, here in Wisconsin, or in central Wisconsin, we send them to either Neenah or Wisconsin Rapids to a paper mill there for reprocessing and making into a new product. Being that we are in a very heavily paper mill state, your community might have a more local mill that your specific paper products might be going to, but for the most part, they're staying in the state and adding to our economy in that way for reprocessing and repurposing. Plastics, pretty much your ones and twos are going to Lower Michigan. Aluminum is typically sent to Kentucky. And then for our steel, right here in eastern Wisconsin, there is a mill that commonly accepts their steel. And glass, well, in central Wisconsin, we use it locally for beneficial use, but it can also be sent to a mill down in southwest Wisconsin. So kind of neat that we have a lot of local markets in our region that our materials are sent to for reclaiming and reusing and repurposing into new products. So you too can slow the spread of landfills, and how do we do that is knowing what we throw. It is our responsibility to really understand what materials really should go into the landfill, which, our waste does need to be processed properly and managed properly. So putting those items that go to the landfill into their garbage is great. Any materials that can go into the curbside are wonderful too for recycling as well. So let's know what we can throw, but it's also important to know what things should not go to the landfill. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. So items to keep out of the landfill include things like tires. Tires are actually banned from going to the landfill because they have an opportunity for repurposing and reusing. Electronics, with the e-waste ban, some of those electronics should not be going to the landfill. And so we need to know that so we don't put them in our garbage can to be going there. Recyclables, some of our recyclables are banned from the landfill. Household hazardous waste materials can be pretty toxic, and so we don't want them going into the landfill, seeping into the landfill itself and maybe causing some harm or problems. Lithium batteries are sort of an emerging technology that has come out. We're using lithium batteries more often, but they really shouldn't go into our waste streams, either the recycling or the garbage bins at our curbside or at our apartment building dumpsters. Those need to be collected and taken to a special place for processing. Your lithium ion batteries are things that are in rechargeable batteries, often are lithium batteries. Those that are in power tools are often a lithium battery. And vape pens are also a small little lithium battery. They cause small fires at landfills or material recovery centers, and they put our workers potentially at harm. We want those to be diverted from those waste streams, taken to a special collection for processing. Also, sharps and medical waste should be taken to a special collection for processing. Locally, you can find out from your either local solid waste department or your city to find out when you have special collections for these items so they're properly handled. We have a video clip on banned items and other materials that should be diverted from the landfill that I'll show as well here.
Tires are a banned item, and they go to a processor that actually grinds them up, and they make a variety of products, anywhere from horse stable matting to rock climbing gym materials, playground matting, just another resource that can be reused and reintroduced into the marketplace.
Anything else?
Some of our landfill banned materials included lead acid batteries, waste oil, and appliances. We also have yard materials banned from landfill disposal and electronics, and so they take up a lot of space. Some of those materials can also have hazardous components, and so we want to make sure that those are not put into the landfill and contribute to our environment. So things like electronics may contain toxic materials, things like heavy metals, lead, mercury, cadmium, chromium, things of that nature.
Luckily, many communities offer collection events for these and other banned wastes. And some of it's scary stuff.
Well, today we're holding our annual Household Hazardous Waste Clean Sweep event. It's a place where residents can bring chemicals they might have laying around their house and safely dispose of them. It's important because if there wasn't a place like this to bring them to, it might end up getting dumped in a ditch or behind their garage or brought to a landfill, all things that harm the environment.
What kinds of household toxic stuff are we talking about?
There's an oil-based paint. Cleanup would you need to use a mineral spirits or something along those lines. Those types of paints are considered flammable. Maybe use gasoline, paint thinners. We have corrosive materials, which are like your drain cleaners, reactive type of chemicals, your bleaches, peroxides, and of course toxic materials, pesticides, your herbicides, insecticides, materials like that could be dangerous to the public, and also material like mercury or even lead.
So it's important to find out locally where you can take some of these harmful chemicals so they can properly be disposed of. So let's talk about recycling right, what we can do. There is a big difference between curbside recycling and special collections for recycling. We can't put anything that's possibly recycled into the recycle bin. I know that is a big misconception for some people. Your curbside bin is meant for materials that are going to go through the sorting line, be sorted, baled, and sent to markets. Our special collections are items that won't work by going through the sorting machines. They might even cause problems if you do put them in the curbside. So in your curbside bin, there's 4 products that are very recyclable, almost universally accepted. But you still need to check locally with your solid waste department to get everything and all the details for your materials. But generally speaking, plastic bottles, number 1s and 2s, paper products, aluminum, and tin cans are accepted and then glass as well. So those are your curbside. What you want to send into special collections are tires, like we've mentioned a few times now. You saw in that video how we have great opportunities for making new products for, but they can't go in your curbside bin for them to be sorted out on the line. Scrap metal in many communities is not accepted in the curbside, but can be taken to a scrap metal dealer. E-waste, we've already talked about that, the importance of making sure that we're recycling that and handling that properly. And I'm going to tell you the number one contaminant in our curbside recycling bin are these plastic bags. Plastic bags are recyclable, very recyclable, but not your curbside bin. They're causing a lot of problems on the sorting line when it goes into the material recovery facilities and sent to that recycling system. They're getting all tied up in the moving parts on the machinery, and then they have to shut down the whole MRF just to pull those and cut out those plastic bags. Your recycling, curbside recycling should not be put in plastic bags. Remove those. Any plastic bags can be collected and taken to your grocery stores. A lot of the grocery stores have a collection right in the front of their store that you can take them to. Jennifer Samro from DNR is going to give us another summary of those recyclable items, and we get a look at some of the material recovery centers, how they're sorting this.
One of the best things that consumers can do to help with waste management is to recycle, and to recycle often, and to recycle right. There are some items that can be recycled no matter where you live, things like aluminum cans, steel cans, plastic bottles numbers 1 and 2, glass bottles, cardboard, and paper materials. Those materials can be used for a better purpose. So those are resources. They would serve as feedstock for other industries. So things like cardboard and paper that you recycle are often used by paper mills to turn those into other paper products such as tissue or other cardboard boxes. So it's about saving those resources for a better use. The other reason was to save landfill space.
Okay. So we got to look at some of those recyclables, those common recycle items that can go into curbside. Again, check locally for what can be accepted in your curbside bin. This is an image of the recycling center, the material recovery facility down in Milwaukee and Waukesha County. State-of-the-art facility. They did a major upgrade in 2017. They're using some of the neatest technology that we have available in recycling. So they're big machineries. Down here, you can see the baled materials. This is what a bale of material looks like. It's bound up and then it's sent to the manufacturers for reprocessing to make into new goods. They're using screens. They have magnets that can, heavy powered magnets that can repel some of the metals and shoot them into the right containers that they want for sorting. Optical sorters are some of the new technology to kind of laser beam which plastics and make sure they're put into the separate containers. Air jets are used. And then almost on every MRF, there are people that still are helping to sort out those materials and make sure we can reclaim as much as we possibly can. In the United States, of our total municipal solid waste, we're at about a 35% recycling rate. That's not bad. So if you didn't think recycling happened and was dead, well, you're wrong. 35% of all of our municipal solid waste is recycled. And that's great. We have a long way to go. We could do better as a country, and you're going to see that only increase with opportunities. You see that increase when consumers demand or look or purchase items that are made from recycled content, packaging that's made from recycled content. The more we push that in the market, the more you're going to see these materials out on being produced and used. We really want to push the fact that we want a more circular economy than a cradle to grave, they call it, create it and then just deposit it in the landfill. We want a cradle. We want a full cyclic economy. And recycling is how we do that. So I also want to say, if this stuff kind of gets me excited, can you tell? But there's so much technology, innovations, and advancements that are happening in the solid waste industry. It's an exciting time to enter that kind of career if that is something of interest to you. A lot of engineering, neat robotic technology is starting to come into the field that creates really neat opportunities if you're looking for a career that would be doing good of reclaiming these materials, sorting it out, getting it into markets. This is a video that's showing a little bit of that sorting and those technologies that are in there. And I'll just play that one for us here.
Single stream recycling, basically you can put all of your material, you don't have to separate your paper from all of your plastics and your metals anymore. You can put it all together. Now that you can combine everything into one container, we have seen an increase up to 25% in some of our communities, increasing their tonnages because they have the wheeled carts.
All your single stream recyclables then get processed in a MRF.
A MRF is a material recovery facility. Curbside and commercial loads of recycling come, and then the material is separated and sorted and then baled for secondary buyers to make the new products out of it.
So you can make the same product with a lower energy input through recycling than you can oftentimes with virgin materials.
All types of paper, mixed paper, cardboard is separated out of it, number one plastics, glass, tin, aluminum, everything that's basically out of their households, which is generally about 50% of the volume that we can actually recycle out of every home.
I bet you if the planet could talk, it would say, oh, thanks for recycling.
We have robotics that are starting to take place in recycling facilities now, where you had a person actually grabbing out that bottle. Now you have machines, you have scanners, you have a robotic arm doing that, you have jets of air doing that. We're getting to the point with technology, robotics, we can take completely mixed waste, the stuff you just throw in your garbage can, and they can process that and pull recyclables out of that. As that technology continues to evolve, we're only going to see more and more things able to be pulled out of the waste stream and given a second life.
So neat technology that is coming out for you. I want to leave or start wrapping this up with a few things. What can you do? I want you to rethink your needs. Looking at that waste management hierarchy, what source reduction can we do at home, or what reuse can we do at home? Any of that reuse, maybe we can't use it anymore, but can we donate it? Making sure we're keeping those things, getting the longest life we can out of our materials. Even when we purchase items, are we purchasing items that are longer lasting? Number 3 is eat your food, compost the waste. We haven't talked too much about food waste, but food waste accounts for 25 to 40% of our waste from our households. Our waste nationally in our waste stream. So we as a household could divert our own food waste. We could make sure we're eating our foods. We're making sure that the fresh foods that we purchase, we're eating first. Maybe we have backyard hens. That's a new thing that's even becoming common in cities. And then anything that we can compost it at home, or even there's some communities that are picking up your compost curbside, and they'll take it and make it into soil amendment and for reuse and repurpose. So some opportunities in compost and waste. You can recycle right. Today you learned some great tips on how you're going to recycle right. Take those tips, go to your solid waste department website, find out what materials, additional materials perhaps, can be put in your curbside. Learn about other opportunities in your own community that's taking special items that can be recycled and reused. Many communities have different opportunities for that. And be responsible. Choose to be a responsible consumer. Look at the products that your material, or look at the materials that your products are made of. Are there recycled content? Can you support the recycled content movement in the United States by buying more items that are made from reused materials? Being stewards, cleaning up our waste and our trash, doing different highway cleanups, getting involved that way also helps as well to become a better steward. On the Recycling Connections website, if you are a teacher or if you're a student looking for more information, we have curated resources for the curriculum resources for teachers. We've created materials that we've vetted for facilities, great documents of what we can do in the school community, custodial, from food service, different tips for recycling carton opportunities, different things schools are doing, and some best practices are all on our website. And then there's some youth actions, how to go about doing your own waste sort. How do we find out when we know how much materials are going in or what materials are going into our waste streams, then we can manage them better. But if we don't know what's going to the trash or the recycling, then we're not sure if we're doing okay, are we sorting it right? Doing a waste sort helps us assess where you're at and what opportunities you have right there at home or at school. So go to the website at recyclingconnections.org/schools, and there's a lot more curated resources for you for your next steps. And Happy America Recycles Day coming up November 15th. Every year is America Recycles Day. We in the solid waste community like to celebrate the whole month. So there's a lot of excitement on our Facebook pages and social media posts of a lot of different solid waste industry I think folks that are putting a lot of things, tips and ideas for reducing your waste, reusing, tips for recycling right. So let's celebrate that all together. I hope you take that time this month to do something in or around November 15th to celebrate. I want to give a special thanks to the Into the Outdoors Becoming Stewards program. Those are the clips that I took from this video today and showed you just clips of it. If you go to their website, to the program, Your Waste Management Stream, you're going to see several different clips. There's curricular resources posted on their website to show those in the class or to learn more and see more of the clips that we weren't able to get to today. But a lot of great resources. SWANA, Wisconsin Badger Chapter, which is the Solid Waste Association of North America, and also Associated Recyclers of Wisconsin. Recycling Connections was also a partner on that to make that happen. And you saw that a lot of the clips were all Wisconsin communities of how we're managing our waste materials. So we are very thankful for having that excellent resource that has been done right here in Wisconsin. So to close, I can say that I hope some of your misconceptions have been relieved and you have learned more. I hope I've sparked interest for you to go and learn more about your own waste at home or at school. Anytime you have questions, we're a green and healthy school provider. We're here to help. Recycling Connections serves as the focus area contact for recycling and waste management in schools. So we're here as a resource anytime. You can email me at susan@recyclingconnections.org or visit our website to learn more. Thank you so much for attending and seeing this video today, and Happy America Recycles Day.
Thank you, Susan, and I hope all of you watching are ready to go and examine your own waste streams and see what ways that you can minimize your waste, divert your waste from the landfill, reuse, reduce, recycle, all those great R's, and really make a difference for both human health and the impact it has on our environment and ecosystems. I also really encourage you to check out the full video from Into the Outdoors about waste and recycling, and I'll be sure to link to that in the description as well. Have a great day, and please do watch some of our other classroom learning series videos.